doing well, and that you're safe, and that you feel comfortable right now, or that this video will help you feel comfortable. I wanted to start a new series. I think I talked about this a long time ago, but I grew up watching The Wind in the Willows, the 90s cartoon movie, based off of the book, but I have a book now, and I think I want to, and it's like a newer-ish version of the book, The Wind in the Willows, and by Kenneth Grahame, and this one is illustrated by Eric Kincaid, but yeah, I think I wanted to just do like one chapter, there's like 8 chapters, so just do a chapter per video and have it be like a series. But yeah, it's just a really sweet story, and yeah, I just want to get into it. I hope that you like it. Chapter 1, The Riverbank. The mole had been working very hard all the morning, spring cleaning his little home. First with brooms, then with dusters, then on ladders and steps and chairs, with a brush and a pail of whitewash, till he had dust in his throat and eyes, and splashes of whitewash all over his black fur, and an aching back and weary arms. Spring was moving in the air above, and in the earth below and around him, penetrating even his dark and lowly little house. It was small wonder, then, that he suddenly flung down his brush on the floor, said bother, and oh blow, and also hang spring cleaning, and bolted out of the house without even waiting to put on his coat. Something up above seemed to be calling him, and he made for his steep little tunnel. He scraped and scratched and scrabbled and scrooged, and then he scrooged again and scrabbled and scratched and scraped, working busily with his little paws and muttering to himself, up we go, till at last pop, his snout came out into the sunlight, and he found himself rolling in the warm grass of a great meadow. This is fine, he said to himself. This is better than whitewashing. The sunshine struck hot hair on his fur. So that's him spring cleaning his little house. The sunshine struck hot on his fur. Soft breezes caressed his heated brow, and after the peace of the underground home he had lived in so long, the carol of happy birds fell on his dulled hearing almost like a shout. Jumping off all his 4 legs at once, in the joy of living and the delight of spring without its cleaning, he went on his way across the meadow till he reached the hedge on the further side. It all seemed too good to be true. Hither and thither through the meadows he rambled busily, along the hedgerows, across the copses. This is my first time reading it, so if I get something wrong, don't mind me. Finding everywhere birds building, flowers budding, leaves dressing, everything happy and progressive and occupied. He thought his happiness was complete when, as he wandered aimlessly along, suddenly he stood by the edge of a full-fed river. Never in his life had he seen a river before, this sleek, twisting, powerful animal, chasing and chuckling, gripping things with a gurgle and leaving them with a laugh, to fling itself on fresh playmates that shook themselves free and were caught and held again. All was a shake and a shiver, glints and gleams and sparkles, rustle and swirl, chatter and bubble. The mole was bewitched, entranced, fascinated. By the side of the river he trotted, and tired at last, he sat on the bank while the river chattered on. As he sat on the grass and looked across the river, a dark hole in the bank opposite, just above the water's edge, caught his eye, and dreamily he fell to considering what a nice snug dwelling place it would make for an animal with few wants and fond of a riverside residence, above flood level and away from noise and dust. As he gazed, something bright and small seemed to twinkle down in the heart of it, vanished, then twinkled once more like a tiny star. Then as he looked, it winked at him, and so declared itself to be an eye, and a small face began gradually to grow up round it, like a frame around a picture. I am in my backyard right now, so I'm sorry for the background noise, but there's the riverbank with the little home across, and there's a mole. I believe that's Rat. So, there we have Rat, a brown little face with whiskers, a grave round face with the same twinkle in its eye that had first attracted his notice, small neat ears and thick silky hair. It was the water rat. Sorry, I gave that away. But then the two animals stood and regarded each other cautiously. "Hello, mole," said the water rat. "Hello, rat," said the mole. "Would you like to come over?" asked the rat presently. "Oh, it's all very well to talk," said the mole rather crossly, he being new to the river and riverside life and its ways. The rat said nothing, but stooped and unfastened a rope and hauled on it, then lightly stepped into a little boat, which the mole had not observed. It was painted blue outside and white within, and was just the size for two animals. The rat sculled smartly across and made fast. Then he held up his forepaw as the mole stepped gingerly down. "Lean on that," he said. "Now then, step lively," said the mole, and the mole, to his surprise and rapture, found himself actually seated in the stern of a real boat. What's that making? Moving further away too. "This has been a wonderful day," said he, as the rat shoved off and took to the sculls again. "Do you know, I've never been in a boat before in all my life." "What?" cried the rat, open-mouthed. "Never been You never will I... What have you been doing, then?" "Is it so nice, says all that?" asked the mole shyly. "Nice? It's the only thing," said the water rat, solemnly, as he leant forward for his stroke. "Believe me, my young friend, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, half so much worth doing as simply messing about in boats. Simply messing," he went on dreamily, "messing about in boats. Messing..." "Look ahead, rat," cried the mole suddenly. It was too late. The boat struck the bank full tilt. The dreamer, the joyous oarsman, lay on his back at the bottom of the boat, his heels in the air. "About in boats, or with boats," the rat went on, picking himself up with a pleasant laugh. "Look here. If you've really nothing else on hand this morning, supposing we drop down the river together and have a long day of it." The mole waggled his toes from sheer happiness, spread his chest with a sigh of full contentment, and leaned back blissfully into the soft cushions. "What a day I'm having," he said. "Let us start at once." "Hold hard a minute, then," said the rat. He looped the painter through a ring in his landing stage, climbed up into his hole above, and after a short interval reappeared staggering under a fat wicker luncheon basket. "Shove that under your feet," he said to the mole as he passed it down into the boat. Then he untied the painter and took the sculls again. "What's inside it?" asked the mole, wriggling with curiosity. "There's cold chicken inside it," replied the rat briefly. "Cold tongue, cold ham, cold beef, pickled..." Oh my gosh. In the movie he says it very fast, and it's all one long word. Cold tongue, cold ham, cold beef, pickled gherkin salad, French rolls, crust sandwiches, spotted meat, ginger beer, lemon soda, water. "Oh, stop, cried the mole in ecstasies. "This is too much." "Do you really think so?" inquired the rat seriously. "It's only what I always take on these little excursions, and the other animals are always telling me that I'm a mean beast and cut it very fine. And you really live by the river? What a jolly life." "By it, and with it, and on it, and in it," said the rat. "It's brother and sister to me, and aunts and company, and food and drink, and naturally washing. It's my world, and I don't want any other. What it hasn't got is not worth having, and what it doesn't know is not worth knowing." "But isn't it a bit dull at times?" the mole ventured to ask. "Just you and the river, and no one else to pass a word with?" "No one else too. Well, I mustn't be hard on you, said the rat patiently. You're new to it, and of course you do not know. The bank is so crowded nowadays that many people are moving away altogether. Oh no, it isn't what it used to be at all. Otters, kingfishers, stabchicks, moorhens, all of them about all day long, and always wanting you to do something, as if a fellow had no business of his own to attend to. What lies over there? Asked Mole, waving a paw towards a background of woodland that darkly framed the water meadows on one side of the river. Oh, that's just the wildwood, said the rat shortly. We don't go there very much, we riverbankers. Aren't they very nice people in there? Said the Mole, a trifle nervously. Well, replied the rat, let me see. The squirrels are all right, and the rabbits, some of them, but rabbits are a mixed lot. And then there's Badger, of course. He lives right in the heart of it. Wouldn't live anywhere else either if you paid him to do it. Dear old Badger. Nobody interferes with him. They'd better not, he added significantly. Why, who should interfere with him? Asked the Mole. Well, of course, there are others, explained the rat in a hesitating sort of way. Weasels and stoats and foxes and so on. They're all right in a way. I'm very good friends with them. Pass the time of day when we meet and all that. Before I pass to the next page, I want to show the pictures. It's very beautiful. That's Rat bringing out the big picnic basket for the little boat excursion. They're all right in a way. I'm very good friends with them. Pass the time of day when we meet and all that. But they break out sometimes. There's no denying it, and then, well, you can't really trust them, and that's the fact. And beyond the wild wood again? Mole asked. Beyond the wild wood comes the wide world, said the rat, and that's something that doesn't matter either to you or me. I've never been there, and I'm never going, nor you either, if you've got any sense at all. Don't ever refer to it again, please. Now then, here's our backwater at last, where we're going to lunch. Leaving the main stream, they now passed into what seemed at first like a little landlocked lake. Green turf sloped down onto either ledge. Brown, snaky tree roots gleamed below the surface of the quiet water. It was so very beautiful that the Mole could only hold up both forepaws and gasp, "Oh my, oh my." The rat brought the boat alongside the bank, made her fast, helped the Mole safely ashore, and swung out the luncheon basket. The Mole begged as a favor to be allowed to unpack it all by himself, and the rat was very pleased to indulge him, and the sprawl at full length on the grass and rest, while his excited friend shook out the tablecloth and spread it, took out all the mysterious packets one by one and arranged their contents in due order, still gasping, oh my, at each fresh revelation. What are you looking at? Said the rat presently, when the edge of their hunger was somewhat dulled and the Mole's eyes were able to wander off the tablecloth a little. I am looking, said the Mole, at a streak of bubbles that I see traveling along the surface of the water. That is a thing that strikes me as funny. Bubbles? Oh ho, said the rat, and chirruped cheerily in an inviting sort of way. A broad, glistening muzzle showed itself above the edge of the bank, and the otter hauled himself out and shook the water from his coat. Greedy beggars, he observed, making for the food. Why didn't you invite me, Ratty? This was an unplanned affair, explained the rat. By the way, my friend Mr. Mole. Proud, I'm sure, said the otter, and the two animals were friends forthwith. There was a rustle behind them, coming from a hedge wherein last year's leaves still clung thick, and a stripy head? With high shoulders behind it, peered forth on them. Come on, old Badger, shouted the rat. The Badger trotted forward a pace or two, then grunted, company, and turned his back and disappeared from view. That's just the sort of fellow he is, observed the disappointed rat. Simply hates society. Now we shan't see any more of him today. Well, tell us who's out on the river. Toad's out for one, replied the otter, in his brand new wagger boat, new togs, new everything. The two animals looked at each other and laughed. Once it was nothing but sailing, said the rat. Then he tired of that and took to punting. Nothing would please him but to punt all day and every day, and a nice mess he made of it. Last year it was houseboating, and we all had to go and stay with him in his houseboat and pretend we liked it. He was going to spend the rest of his life in a houseboat. It's all the same. Whatever he takes up, he gets tired of it and starts on something fresh. Such a good fellow, too, remarked the otter reflectively, but no stability, especially in a boat. From where they sat, they could get a glimpse of the main stream across the island that separated them, and just then a wager boat? I'm not sure. Flashed into view, the rower, a short, stout figure, splashing badly and rolling a good deal, but working his hardest. The rat stood up and hailed him, but Toad, for it was he, shook his head and settled sternly to his work. He'll be out of the boat in a minute if he rolls like that, said the rat, sitting down again. Of course he will, chuckled the otter. A mayfly swerved unsteadily across the current, a swirl of water and a cloop, and the mayfly was visible no more. Neither was the otter. The mole looked down. The voice was still in his ears, but the turf whereon he had sprawled was clearly vacant. Not an otter to be seen as far as the distant horizon. But again there was a streak of bubbles on the surface of the river. Well, well, said the rat, I suppose we ought to be moving. I wonder which of us had better pack the luncheon basket. He did not speak as if he was frightfully eager for the treat. Oh, please let me, said the mole, so of course the rat let him. The afternoon sun was getting low as the rat sculled gently homewards in a dreamy mood, murmuring poetry things over to himself and not paying much attention to Mole. But the mole was very full of lunch and self-satisfaction, and already quite at home in a boat, so he thought, and was getting a bit restless besides. And presently he said, Ratty, please, I want to row now. The rat shook his head with a smile. Not yet, my young friend, he said. Wait till you've had a few lessons. It's not as easy as it looked. The mole began to feel more and more jealous of Rat, sculling so strongly and so easily along, and his pride began to whisper that he could do it every bit as well. He jumped up and seized the sculls so suddenly that the rat, who was gazing out over the water and saying more poetry things to himself, was taken by surprise and fell backwards off his seat with his legs in the air for the second time, while the triumphant mole took his place and grabbed the sculls with entire confidence. Stop it, you silly fool, cried the rat from the bottom of the boat. You can't do it. You'll have us over. The mole flung his sculls back. I hope I'm saying that word right too, but who knows. He flung them back with a flourish and made a great dig in the water. He missed the surface altogether. His legs flew up above his head, and he found himself lying on the top of the helpless rat. Greatly alarmed, he made a grab at the side of the boat, and the next moment, sploosh, over went the boat, and he found himself struggling in the river. Oh my, how cold the river was, and oh, how very wet it felt, how it sang in his ears as he went down, down, down. Then a firm paw gripped him by the back of his neck. It was the rat, and he was evidently laughing. The mole could feel him laughing right down his arm and through his paw, and so into his legs, the mole's neck. The mole's neck. The rat got hold of a skull and shoved it under the mole's arm, and he did the same by the other side of him, and swimming behind, propelled the poor animal to shore, hauled him out, and set him down on the bank, a squashy, pulpy lump of misery. When the rat had rubbed him down a bit and wrung some of the wet out of him, he said, Now then, old fellow, trot up and down the towing path as hard as you can until you're warm and dry again, while I dive for the luncheon basket. So the dismal mole, wet on the outside and ashamed on the inside, trotted about till he was fairly dry, while the rat plunged into the water again, recovered the boat, righted her and made her fast, fetched his floating property to shore, and finally dived successfully for the luncheon basket and struggled to land with it. When all was ready for a start once more, the mole, limp and dejected, took his seat in the stern of the boat, and as they set off, he said in a low voice, broken with emotion, Ratty, my generous friend, I am very sorry indeed for my foolish and ungrateful conduct. My heart quite fails me when I think how I might have lost that beautiful luncheon basket. Indeed, I have been a complete fool, and I know it. Will you overlook it this once and forgive me, and let things go on as before? That's all right. Bless you, he responded the rat cheerily. What's a little wet to a water rat? Don't you think any more about it? And look here, I really think you had better come and stop with me for a little time. It's very plain and rough, you know, not like Toad's house at all. But you haven't seen that yet, still. I can make you comfortable. And here's some of the pictures of them in the picnic basket, or luncheon basket, in the boat. And then falling into the water and getting in the can. The mole was so touched by the rat's kind manner of speaking. Pages are a little bit distracting. The mole was so touched by the rat's kind manner of speaking that he could find no voice to answer him, and he had to brush away a tear with the back of his paw. But the rat kindly looked in another direction, and presently the mole's spirits revived again, and he was even able to give some straight back talk to a couple of moorhens who were sniggering to each other about his bedraggled appearance. When they got home, the rat made a bright fire in the parlor and planted the mole in an armchair in front of it, having fetched down a dressing gown and slippers for him, and told him river stories till supper time. Supper was a cheerful meal, but shortly afterwards a sleepy mole had to be escorted upstairs by his considerate host to the best bedroom, where he soon laid his head on his pillow in great peace and contentment, knowing that his newfound friend the river was lapping the sill of his window. This day was only the first of many similar ones for the mole, each of them longer and fuller of interest as the ripening summer moved onward. He learned to swim and to row, and entered into the joy of running water, and with his ear to the reed stems he caught at intervals something of what... No, let me say that again. He learned to swim and to row, and entered into the joy of running water, and with his ear to the reed stems he caught, at intervals, something of what the wind was whispering so constantly among them. And that was the first chapter, The Riverbank. And here's them in Rat's home, going up to bed, being cozy. But yeah, that was chapter 1. The next video will be chapter 2, and then I hope you're enjoying it so far. This book means a lot to me. And I probably won't do intros for the next bunch of videos. I'll just go right into the next chapter. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. And see you next time.